Okay, Star Wars friends, today we're going to combine two of my most favorite things. The first original Star Wars, Episode 4, and Negotiation. Hi, I'm Bob Bordone. I'm a senior fellow at Harvard Law School and the founder and former director of Harvard's Negotiation and Mediation Clinical Program. I'm also the founder and a principal at the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. We're looking at group process in a multi-party negotiation and where we can get some faith on how to do this more effectively. Let's go.
Until this battle station is fully operational, we are vulnerable. The Rebel Alliance is too well equipped. They're more dangerous than you realize.
Dangerous to your Starfleet, Commander, not to this battle station.
Okay, this looks like a lot of corporate board meetings. Somebody uses a nasty tone, and somebody responds with a retort. You may be laughing, but I actually think a lot of board meetings do go like that. And let me tell you, not a best practice. If you have a point that you want the others on the team to hear, you need to do it in a tone that's inviting. And if you disagree with that point, the way to handle it isn't to make the other person feel like they're inept or unqualified or doing a poor job in their particular domain. And yet, many board meetings, many group processes, multi-party decision-making looks just like this. There's no listening. People come in armed and they're ready to defend their turf. And that kind of atmosphere usually lends to inept or bad decision making. It's the kind of an atmosphere that leads to a decision to, decide to launch the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1986 that ends up blowing up, or that leads to a decision to invade Cuba, resulting in the Bay of Pigs disaster, or the kind of decision that, results in something like an invasion of Iraq that ends up being a multi-year disaster for the United States. Okay, let's keep watching.
The rebellion will continue to gain support in the Imperial Senate.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently. The last remnants of the old Republic have been swept away.
It's impossible. How will the Emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy?
The regional governors now have direct control over their territories. Fear will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station.
And what of the rebellion? If the rebels have obtained a complete technical readout of this station, it is possible, however unlikely, that they might find a weakness and exploit it.
The plans you refer to will soon be back in our hands.
Any attack made by the rebels against this station would be a useless gesture, no matter what technical data they've obtained.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Oh my gosh, I love this movie, and I've seen this clip a million times, but I guess I've never analyzed it from a negotiation perspective or a multi-party group process perspective. Why is this man so angry?
Chill out, dude. Just relax, man.
He's clearly proud of the technological advance that is the Death Star. Oh, which, by the way, wasn't that advanced in the end. But even if he was right on the merits, speaking with this kind of anger hardly is effective. And yet there are these real-life analogies. I am thinking about, for example, the Senate confirmation hearing of now Justice Brett Kavanaugh, when Senator Lindsey Graham starts pointing and spitting almost in the same way and tone as this. Oh yeah, it got a lot of clicks and a lot of news coverage. I don't think it changed a single mind of anybody on that committee. To the degree that this man, who is clearly very proud of the technological advance of the Death Star, wants to make his point, doing it in this emotion-filled way where he almost seems like his head is going to pop off isn't likely to work. What we know from negotiation is that speaking with passion that is authentic can be extremely compelling. However, speaking in a tone that is demeaning, that almost feels like you're working through some other set of internal issues tends to backfire. Let's see how it does in this case.
I suggest we use it.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Don't try to frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader. Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes, or given you clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden fort.
Okay, let's pause here before things turn dark. Our fabulous negotiator here continues to make a bunch of fool's moves.
What did you say?
Think about this from a perspective of deep belief. If you have a colleague who believes strongly in anything of religious belief, maybe maybe they believe Target is the best store ever. The last thing you want to do is make them seem to be a fool, to call their idea sad or irrelevant or powerless.
That's mean.
And this is exactly what he is doing here in this negotiation. So a key negotiation lesson here, a key group process or influence lesson here, is that you always want to put somebody into a role that is attractive for them. If you are perplexed about why someone may believe X, Y, or Z, instead of calling them a fool or making them feel like an idiot or framing them or giving them the role of problem, instead give them the role of helper. So it sounds like from your perspective, Lord Vader, the Force is far more powerful than what we've created in the Death Star. I'd like to understand that more. Okay, you're not usually negotiating with Lord Vader, who is still perhaps likely to not like your question. But when you are negotiating with most people, at least the role you've been given is expert, helper, advisor, not dum-dum who believes in a sorcerer's ways. Okay, let's continue.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
This bickering is pointless. Now, Lord Vader will provide us with the location of the rebel fortress by the time this station is operational. We will then crush the rebellion with one swift stroke.
So we see two interesting moves here that feel extreme in this example, but honestly are common ways, regrettably, that conflicts get resolved. First, what does Vader do? Okay, he uses the Force here, but what he's really doing is using violence. And violence, regrettably, even in the 21st century, continues to be a common way that people resolve differences. We see this happening in wars across the world. We see this happening in our communities. We see this happening even in the criminal justice system. For example, the use of the death penalty. From a negotiation and conflict resolution perspective, violence is the most costly, least creative, and frankly, most pointless way to resolve conflict. In fact, violence usually happens because of a failure of our empathy to understand and be curious about the perspective of the other. Now, the next move we see comes from Grand Moff Tarkin, who interrupts and he orders Vader to essentially release him. This feels like a good move here, but what the Grand Moff Tarkin has essentially done is gone to another conflict resolution method, which is using authority or power. Now, to be clear, there are many times when resort to authority or power can be helpful. But is it the best way to resolve a conflict? Is it the best way to make a decision? I wouldn't say so.
Nope.
If we were reorienting this scene, which would maybe make it a less exciting movie, but a more effective demonstration of group process, what we would really do is create a process where each person at the table would be able to express what their concerns are. And then once we had the concerns out on the table, there'd be a chance for people to ask questions and respond to them. And that process would elicit a lot more useful information to then invite the group to say, in light of this information, what decisions do we want to make that would help build consensus, that would result in the wisest possible conclusion to assure that our short and long-term interests were met. What ends up happening here is we have a short-term resolution, which is basically a détente on this committee, a declared decision from the boss, and as any of us who have watched this movie know, ultimately ends up being a not-so-good decision for the Empire, although the saving grace for the rebellion. So as I said at the beginning, the Star Wars movies are my absolute faves. If you have some clips that you think are good examples of negotiations or group process or conflict that you want me to analyze, drop those in the comments section because I'm really excited to analyze them. Oh, and before you go, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like my video, and ring the bell. If you do that, I am sure the negotiation force will be with you. I'm Bob Bordone with the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, it's not difficult to keep watching. Click, click.